What's good YouTube? Today I'm back with a new video, and today I'm going to be talking about the most overpaid and underpaid player from every NBA team. Overpaid players are players that got paid too much for the amount of production they bring to their team. Underpaid players are the opposite. They are the ones that deserve more money than what they are currently getting. Also, players with rookie deals will not be included in this video, so let's just get straight into it with the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks took a ton of bad contracts this offseason. They took Allen Crabbe's $18 million a year, Evan Turner's $18 million a year, and their most overpaying Chandler Parsons, who's going to get paid $25 million this season for doing nothing but underperform. Chandler Parsons is definitely the worst contract for the Hawks. He's only played 96 games since signing this contract in 2016, which makes this contract even worse. The Hawks' most underpaid player is probably Jabari Parker, who the Hawks signed for just $6 million a year. This is a pretty good signing for that type of money. Even though he didn't live up to the hype coming out of college due to injuries, he can still be productive and get you 15 points off the bench. He's still 24 years old and got plenty of time to turn things around. The Boston Celtics. Their most overpaid player is definitely Gordon Hayward. He's getting paid $32 million this year. It's not really his fault for being overpaid after that terrible injury he had on opening night. I still hope Hayward can come back to his All-Star days, but it's not looking too good for him. The Celtics' most underpaid player is Enes Kanter. He's only getting paid $4 million this year. Kanter definitely deserves more than that, but he didn't mind taking this small contract. He recently said that he cares more about winning than money. I don't know if the Celtics were the right team for him to sign with to win a championship, since other teams like the Lakers or Clippers have more chances of winning it all, but we'll have to wait and see how they perform. The Brooklyn Nets. If we're talking about this season, the Nets are probably overpaying Kevin Durant for paying him $37 million this year. He's going to be out for the season due to injury, which is not Kevin Durant's fault because injuries can happen at any time. We still don't know how Kevin Durant will look like when he comes back, so this contract is questionable for now. I don't blame the Nets for giving Durant this contract, since this was a risk they had to take. The Nets are in a good salary cap. After Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, the two highest paid players are Spencer Dinwiddie for $10 million and DeAndre Jordan for $9 million. The most underpaid player for the Nets goes to either Joe Harris or Spencer Dinwiddie. Joe Harris is getting paid $7 million this season. Harris turned out to become one of the most efficient and best shooters in the league, shooting 47% from 3 last season, while also winning the 3-point contest. He could probably make more money on a new contract next year, like $10 million a year, if he keeps playing like this. On the other hand, Spencer Dinwiddie probably deserves a little bit more money after having one of the best seasons of his career last season, when he was putting up 17 points and 5 assists off the bench. He's getting paid $10 million this year, which I think he deserves a little bit more. He could have probably got more money if he played with another team that was desperate for a starting point guard, but he looks like he enjoys Brooklyn. The Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets have a ton of bad contracts. First, they went out and gave Terry Rozier a huge contract, in which he's getting paid nearly $20 million this season, but this just gets even worse. Cody Zeller is getting paid $14 million this year for being nothing but average. Michael Kidd-Gilchrist is getting paid $13 million this year for having a broke jump shot. This just gets even worse than what I just mentioned for the Hornets. Bismack Biyombo is getting paid $17 million this year to average 4 points a game, but this is not even close to Nicholas Batum getting paid $25 million this year for averaging only 9 points and being mediocre. The Hornets don't have any underpaid players, since their young players like Miles Bridges are on rookie deals, which I'm not going to count on this video since they're guaranteed. The Chicago Bulls. Otto Porter is the most overpaid player on this roster. He's getting paid $27 million next season. Don't get me wrong, Otto Porter is still a decent player and had a good season last year with the Bulls, but he isn't worth $27 million. He's getting paid more than Zach LaVine, which is ridiculous to think about. Zach LaVine is likely the Bulls' most underpaid player. He's making $19 million next year, which is pretty good, but he probably deserves a little bit more after breaking out last season with the Bulls and averaging 25 a game, while shooting 47% from the field and 38% from 3. If he improves his defense and keeps improving his game, he has all-star potential. The Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cavaliers have a ton of bad contracts. They're still paying Kevin Love a questionable $28 million next year. They're also paying Brandon Knight $50 million next year, Larry Nance $12 million, and Tristan Thompson $18 million next year. This spot easily goes to Brandon Knight, who hasn't really done anything for the team. As I just said, the Cavs overpaid a lot of players on this roster and really didn't underpay anyone. The Dallas Mavericks. The Dallas Mavericks' most overpaid player is Tim Hardaway Jr., who's getting paid $18 million next year. Hardaway is still a decent player, but not worth $18 million. The Mavs are also paying Cornely $12 million a year, but if I have to choose the more overpaid player, I have to go with Tim Hardaway Jr. The Mavericks' most underpaid player has to be Boban Marjanovic, who's only getting paid $3 million next year. He's one of the most efficient players in NBA history and deserves more than $3 million. The Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets have a pretty good salary, but they still accepted Paul Millsap's $30 million contract. It was still a great move to bring him back to the roster for veteran leadership that this Nuggets team needs. Even though Jamal Murray got an insane max contract, Millsap is still more overpaid. Millsap is not worth $30 million, but he's still a good player. The Nuggets are also going to be paying Mason Plumlee $40 million next year, which is too much for the amount of productivity he brings to the team. The Nuggets don't really have an underpaid player since most of their young stars are in rookie deals and in good contracts. The Detroit Pistons. Reggie Jackson is definitely their most overpaid player. He's going to get paid $18 million this season for just being mediocre and inconsistent. Even though he had a decent season last year, he's still not worth $18 million. Also, Andre Drummond is kind of overpaid, getting paid $27 million, which is too much for Drummond. No disrespect to Drummond, but he isn't worth $27 million. The Pistons are also paying Tony Snell $11 million next year, which is a fair deal, but he probably deserves a little less. The Pistons' most underpaid player has to be Derrick Rose. He's going to get paid $7 million this season, 11 less than Reggie Jackson, which is crazy to think about. Rose averaged 18 points per game last season and will be a great backup point guard for the team. The Golden State Warriors. The Warriors aren't really overpaying anyone. Even though they might have overpaid Draymond Green a little bit by giving him a max contract, he still deserves the money for how much of an impact he had on the Warriors. Their most underpaid player is probably Willie Cauley-Stein, which they got for $2 million. He's going to be a great rim protector and a great player for this team. The Houston Rockets. The Houston Rockets aren't really overpaying anyone, but if I had to choose, probably Russell Westbrook by a little bit. Not hating or disrespecting Russ, but $38 million is a bit too much compared to the rest of the league. Russell definitely deserves the money, but not that much. The Rockets aren't really underpaying anyone since every player is on good deals. The Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers have a good salary cap. They have done a good job with their money, and there isn't really an overpaid player on this roster, but they're clearly underpaying Victor Oladipo a little bit since he probably deserves more than $21 million. But we'll have to wait and see how he performs after he comes back from his injury. But if Oladipo comes back and plays like his old self, he's probably going to be worth a max or near max contract. He's currently the 50th highest paid player in the NBA, which is far from what he deserves. The Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers are also in a good spot with their salary. They're not really overpaying or underpaying anyone on their roster. After Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, their highest paid player is Patrick Beverley with $12 million a year, which he clearly deserves. The Clippers are still underpaying Lou Williams, who's also going to get paid $8 million a year. He definitely deserves more than $8 million for the impact he has had on the team and how efficient he has been off the bench. The Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers are also in a good spot with their salaries. They're probably overpaying Danny Green a little bit by giving him $14 million a year, but he can still be a productive player and an impact player for the team. The Lakers' most underpaid player has to be DeMarcus Cousins, who the Lakers got for just $3 million. It's surprising that there were no teams that still wanted to sign him. He averaged 16 points and 8 rebounds last season for the Warriors, which is pretty good for a player that just came off an Achilles injury. He's definitely going to make a big impact for the Lakers, and teams are going to regret not giving Cousins a deal. JaVale McGee is also too underpaid for getting paid the veterans minimum, but he wants to win, so he's willing to make any sacrifices to win, and I respect that. The Memphis Grizzlies. The Grizzlies' two highest paid players are Andre Iguodala and Jonas Valanciunas. Iguodala is clearly getting traded and probably isn't playing for the team. Valanciunas is getting paid $60 million this year, but he put up 20 points and 10 rebounds in 19 games after getting traded there, so it's not that bad of a deal. These contracts are still not even worse to Solomon Hill's $12 million and Miles Plumlee $11 million. They're basically getting paid to do nothing. Other than this, the Grizzlies are in a good spot salary-wise, and they have no underpaid players. The Miami Heat. The Heat have a ton of bad contracts. They're paying Goran Dragic $90 million, which is not bad, but the fact that he keeps getting injured makes this contract even worse. He's still a good player, don't get me wrong, but not worth $90 million at the age of 33. The Heat are paying James Johnson $15 million, which is too high for him. Dion Waiters $12 million to basically not even playing since he's mostly injured. Kelly Olynyk $11 million and Myers Leonard $11 million. Don't get me wrong, there's decent role players, but they're definitely not worth this type of money. The Heat are not underpaying anyone since they're overpaying half of their roster. The Milwaukee Bucks. Chris Middleton is clearly the Bucks' most overpaid player, who's going to get paid $30 million this season, which is 5 more than Giannis. I understand that the only way to get him back on the roster was to overpay him, but he still isn't worth $30 million. He's still a good player and has good chemistry with the Bucks, but $30 million is a bit too much for him. The Bucks are also overpaying Eric Bledsoe $15 million, which is probably a little too much for him, but Middleton is clearly the most overpaid on their roster. Giannis Antetokounmpo is definitely their most underpaid player. He's getting paid $25 million this year. This ranks Giannis as the 42nd highest paid player in the league. However, he's still eligible for the largest contract in NBA history, with a supermax of 5 years and $247 million. But there's a chance he'll take a pay cut to help his team win. He's still underpaid for now. The Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves have a ton of bad contracts. They're going to pay Jeff Teague $19 million this season and Gorgie Deng $60 million. But none of them are worse than Andrew Wiggins, who's going to get paid $27 million this season, which makes him the 27th highest player in the league and pays slightly higher than Karl Anthony Towns. The New Orleans Pelicans. Jrue Holiday is the Pelicans' most overpaid player, getting paid $26 million. Don't get me wrong, he's still a good player on both ends of the floor, but not worth $26 million. They're also overpaying Derek Favors, who's going to get paid $16 million, which is too much for how much he does for the team. Other than this, the Pelicans are in a good spot and are not really underpaying anyone on the roster. The New York Knicks. The Knicks' most overpaid player has to be Bobby Portis, who's going to get paid $50 million next season. He still hasn't proven himself and he's still too young for this money. He's still a nice offensive player but not worth $50 million. Other than this, the Knicks did a pretty good job with their money. They're not really underpaying anyone on the roster since everyone else is on good deals. The Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder have some bad contracts. They're going to be paying Steven Adams $25 million this season, which is way too much for a player that can't really play without Westbrook being his playmaker. Danilo Gallinari is getting paid $22 million, Dennis Schroeder is getting paid $15 million, and Andre Robertson is getting paid $10 million for basically not playing. But Chris Paul is obviously the most overpaid player on the roster, and he might even be the most overpaid player in the league after John Wall. He's going to get paid $38 million next season. He's getting worse every year and he's 34 years old. The Thunder are not underpaying anyone since the roster is full with overpaid players and players on rookie deals. The Orlando Magic. The Magic are in a good salary spot. They're probably overpaying Aaron Gordon a little too much by paying him nearly $20 million next season, but the rest of the roster is in good deals. The Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers have some large contracts. They gave Ben Simmons a max contract without him making even a 3. They signed Al Horford for $28 million, which is not bad short term, but long term is gonna hurt since he's gonna turn 34 this season. The most overpaid player is still Tobias Harris, who's going to get paid $32 million this season. He got near a max contract this year with a 5-year, $180 million contract. They still have to give him this money to bring him back, which is understandable, but it's too much for a player that hasn't been an all-star yet. He can still be worth it long term because he can basically fit in every team and do his role. He still has a lot to live up to, and since he's one of the 10 highest paid players in the league. The Sixers' most underpaid player has to be Josh Richardson, who's going to get paid $10 million next season. He put up 17 points, 4 rebounds, and 4 assists, and has been improving every season. Even though Richardson on the Sixers is a questionable fit, he's still worth more than $10 million. The Phoenix Suns. Tyler Johnson is still getting paid $19 million to be mediocre and inefficient, and he's by far the Suns' most overpaid player. Tyler Johnson has never averaged over 13 points a game. Ricky Rubio is also going to get paid $60 million this season, which is very questionable for a guard like Rubio, but Johnson is still by far the most overpaid. The Suns don't have any underpaid players since most of their young players other than Booker are on rookie deals. The Portland Trail Blazers. The Blazers' most overpaid player is Hassan Whiteside, who's going to get paid $27 million on his final year of his contract. He will probably be the league's highest paid bench player, since Nurkic is probably going to start. Whiteside is going to be a better fit on the Blazers, but he isn't worth $27 million. Ken Bazemore is also getting paid $19 million this season, but Whiteside is definitely the more overpaid. Whiteside was a great pickup for the Blazers and adds more depth to the team. Jusuf Nurkic is the Blazers' most underpaid player, getting paid $11 million. He's the 22nd highest paid center in the league, behind guys like Cody Zeller and Ian Mahinmi. Nurkic definitely deserves more than that. the Sacramento Kings. Harrison Barnes is the most overpaid player by far. He's going to get paid $24 million this year, which is way too much for Barnes. He's still a great player, but not worth $24 million. Dwayne Dedmon will also get paid $13 million, and Trevor Ariza will get paid $12 million, but Barnes is still the more overpaid player. Other than that, the rest of the Kings roster is filled with rookie deals, so there's not anyone underpaid. The San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs' most overpaid player has to be DeMar DeRozan by a little bit. He's getting paid $27 million this season. Don't get me wrong, he's still an all-star caliber player, but he's still not on the same level he was on the Raptors. They're also not underpaying anyone since the rest of the roster is on good deals. The Toronto Raptors. Kyle Lowry is definitely the Raptors' most overpaid player. He's going to get paid $33 million next season. Even though he played good in the playoffs, he's going to turn 34 this season, and he's probably going to start declining. Marc Gasol is also getting paid $25 million. Even though he made a big impact with the Raptors in the finals, he's still going to turn 35 years old next season, and that's a lot of money for Mark. Serge Ibaka is also going to get paid $23 million this season, but Kyle Lowry is their most overpaid player by far. The Raptors' most underpaid player has to be Rondae Hollis-Jefferson. He's going to get paid the veteran's minimum this season, which is too low for a player like Hollis-Jefferson. He's going to be a great player on the team on both ends of the floor, and was a great pickup by the Raptors. The Utah Jazz. Mike Conley is the Jazz's most overpaid player. He's going to get paid $33 million this season, which is way too much for Conley. Conley is one of the most underrated players in the league and definitely deserves to be an all-star, but $33 million is way too much. The Jazz's most underpaid player is obviously Donovan Mitchell with $3 million, but since he's on a rookie deal, he can't get more than that until the contract is over. Jeff Green is their most underpaid player, not counting Donovan Mitchell. Jeff Green is going to get paid the veteran's minimum this season. Jeff Green is still a good role player that can contribute to a contending team. The Washington Wizards. John Wall is clearly the Wizards' most overpaid player, and possibly the most overpaid player in the entire NBA. I don't know if John Wall was ever worth a supermax, even before he got injured. Now that he had a heel surgery and ruptured his Achilles in the season right before the extension starts, makes this contract even worse. The Wizards are also paying Ian Mahinmi $15 million a year, but Wall is clearly the most overpaid. The Wizards' most underpaid player has to be Bradley Beal. He deserves a max contract after having a breakout season last year. We still don't know if Beal's getting traded or not, but he deserves the max. Isaiah Thomas is underpaid as well. He's going to get paid the veteran's minimum and has the chance to become the Wizards' starting point guard this season. Thomas has basically been underpaid his entire NBA career, so it's not a surprise. Hopefully Thomas breaks out and proves himself. And that concludes the video. Who's the most underpaid and overpaid player in the NBA right now? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and click the bell to get notified of my future videos. I hope everyone has a great day. Peace out.